Hey, my Legion, how y'all doing today? I'm here today to review. Well, before I even get to that, I want to specify something because some horror fans are gonna be saying this. Yes, I know Tobe Hooper made a remake of this back in 2004, a remake of Toolbox Murders. I reviewed it on my channel a while back. Let me see when I reviewed it. Cause I should have looked that up before I did this. Let me see. Go Video Manager. I'll look up right now. Okay. I don't know if I spell toolbox as one word or two words. Let me put it as one word. Yeah, I reviewed Tobe Hooper's remake of the Toolbox Murders. Wow, this was a long time ago. I reviewed this way back December 15th, 2013. So if anyone's interested in that review, I'll put the link in the description. I had 730 views. That's not too bad for 2013. That's before my channel really started taking off. I saw it with Dad. Yeah, I don't know if he was a fan of it. I saw it when we used to get, they used to have something called Movie Pass. And it said it was for free, and then Dad said they were charging $5 a month for it, which that was kind of a lie from Time Warner Cable. But that used to be a place where you could watch a bunch of movies, I assume for free, but it said free on there, but maybe just movies are free, you had to pay for it. I guess $5 a month. It had like it had Disney on there, it had like FearNet, it had Fox Movie, and it had like something called Viewtopia, where it had a whole bunch of movies, and then it started eventually winding down. They got rid of Fox movies on there, which are mostly old movies. And though I did see they had Joyride 3 on there, or Joyride 2, or Joyride 3 on there. And occasionally they have, but I mean, mostly it was old movies. And they had FearNet on there. They got rid of FearNet. They got rid of that. I think they got rid of Viewtopia too. Viewtopia had a couple of the brand new full moon movies. You know, and like that one of Evil Bong 360 or 480 or whatever it was that I did. That was a few months before Dad passed away. And I got to see that and I reviewed that. That did okay on my channel. Let me see how well that did. Let's put it in Bong. Let me see. Yeah, I did that May 10th, 2015. My dad died like a month and 3 days after that. Wow. That had 872 views. That's not too bad. And that was a brand new release. I mean, it just came out like they put on Viewtopia like a week or two after it came out, which is really cool. They like I said, I don't have that anymore. I gave that up. Now all they have is like Disney with a few movies. I don't even think they have that anymore. So I did that. I can put a link in the description to the movie The Toolbox Murders for anyone who's interested. And that's a great remake too. That's a really good remake. And then I know Rue Morgan was saying that was like the triumphant return of Tobe Hooper. But I mean, I like Tobe Hooper, but they were complaining about movies he did like Mortuary. But I didn't think Mortuary was that bad. The Tobe Hooper one. There was another Mortuary back in the 80s, which is kind of like a slasher film with Christopher George and Linda Day George, which was alright. It wasn't as cool as the trailer they made for it. The trailer they made for it made it look awesome. And the movie itself was eh. Well, anyways, I'm here to review Toolbox Murders and Toolbox Murders 2, which was a sequel to the Tobe Hooper remake. Toolbox Murders came out in 1978, and Toolbox Murders Part 2 came out in 2013, even though Amazon Live said 2015. And I saw both on Amazon. And they're both included with Prime. You have to be careful. There's one, the Toolbox Murders, that you had to get a subscription or rental for. But if you go, there's another one that you can see for free on there. Well, anyways, let's talk about the Toolbox Murders. And it's weird because I was looking up something called Geek Den. What's it called, the Geek Den right there? About a little more info on that. Den of Geek, that's what it is. And they were talking about that. They said in the early 80s, academics, the sociologists, psychologists, especially feminists, caught wind of the growing popularity of slasher films and went a little funny in the head with horror and dismay. They're saying, what are these movies from talk about our state of culture, because they always do that with video games, sex and violence in movies and all this other stuff. You know, and they said what it had on the psyche of the young people today. And government became interested in the studies along with the police. And then it said when it came out that these slash films were turning kids into, they said it was turning kids into a generation of monsters who care nothing about human life. You know, and then he said that used to happen with juvenile delinquency in comic books back in the 50s. And they said that out of all the hundreds of movies they examined back in the 80s, they ruled the Toolbox Murders was the worst offender. And it was weird because the Toolbox Murders came out in 1978, like 9 months before Halloween came out. And it was pretty much forgotten about. No one thought about it, but because of that study and stuff, it became famous. It became a cult classic. See, they did that again, like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. No one probably would have remembered I Spit on Your Grave that much. They probably would now, but I mean, at the time, in 1980, they did a thing saying it was the most reprehensible movie and the worst movie ever made, and they made it famous. They made it infamous. Just like when I was in Germany, they had Married with, whenever Fox came out, it was before I was in the Army, and it was just a UHF channel and stuff like that. You had to get rabbit antennas to get it, you know. And we barely ever got it. And there was a show called Werewolf my dad wanted to see. And I guess Married with Children was on the same time. No one knew about that. I knew about Werewolf. My dad wanted to see episodes of it. I think we were able to catch one that was not that... that was very staticky, not the best quality picture, because we just had rabbit ears at the time. And it was on an upstairs TV where we could get like Canadian TV, like City TV, really well, and that was like our cable. We didn't have cable back then in the 80s. And it was okay, and my dad I ended up watching it with my dad, some episodes on YouTube. My dad's like, well, this is just like The Fugitive. And after like a few episodes, he gave up on it. But he did get to see the show before he passed, so that was cool. And Chuck Connors was in it, so he liked that. Well, anyways, I guess the show was on Germany, and people said, well, you got to watch the show. I had never heard of it before. And I was like, well, it was okay. And then there was an episode that was really, really funny. And I started getting into it, and then there was some crazy lady that was on Phil Donahue's show and saying, this film is horrible for me and my kids. I'm so disturbed. I'm deeply physically disturbed as a human being by this show. And then because of her outcry, people thought she was nuts. And that show became really popular because of that. So, I mean, these people who complain, you know, sometimes it backfires and makes the show even more popular. Like Andrew Dice Clay, with Andrew Dice Clay, he became a victim of one of the very first victims of political correctness. People were slamming his movie and his act and stuff like that. And made the Saturday Night Live episode he was on probably one of the most watched of all time. And Nora Dunn left the show in protest, and she left it completely out of protest. However, it didn't help his movie Venture the Ford Fairlane, which didn't do very well at the box office, which I loved, by the way. But nowadays, I read Dice's book, which I really liked back in 2015. I saw his Woody Allen movie, Blue Jasmine, with my dad. Well, he kind of watched it half on, half off. I watched the whole thing. I remember reading the book when Dad was still in 2015, watching that movie. And then he had a Showtime, but he's just not that funny anymore. And then he was on My Kitchen Rules. He was good on that. Well, anyway, let's get back to Toolbox Murders. I'm getting off on a tangent here. And Toolbox Murders stars Cameron Mitchell, the great Cameron Mitchell. And before Halloween came out, the slasher movie genre has been around since 1960. Some people think Halloween was the very first movie to start the slasher genre. That's not true. Psycho was. But back then it was kind of like the whodunit, where like a bunch of people get killed and you try to figure who did it, who the murder mystery. And there was a bunch of Italian films, like Mario Bava did Blood and Black Lace, and there's movies like Eyeball, Twitch of the Death Nerve, Alice, Sweet Alice, which is an American film. And you're trying to guess who the killers were in these movies. And then when Halloween came out, it kind of changed the game, and they made movies them differently and stuff like that. And Dario Argento did a whole bunch of stuff like that, like Bird with Crystal Plumage and Four Flies on Gray Velvet, or Four Flies on Black Velvet, I can't remember. And Deep Red. And stuff like that. And Suspiria was about witches that won the slasher film. But I mean, that's kind of turned it on its head, kind of, and put the slasher genre in a different realm. Well, anyways, Cameron Mitchell started, and he was in a bunch of the Mario Bava, like including Blood and Black Lace, like I said. And it revolves around this one place that's like this big apartment building, and all the women are getting killed. And the police, I mean, I don't know how the police couldn't get it. It's obvious who the killer was, like, obvious. There's even a scene where he's like, well, you show the killer with the ski mask on, he's like, he hums and stuff before. It's really kind of funny. And there's a scene where he puts on his mask, and he puts it on wrong. And he puts the whole eye hole covers like his nose, and you can tell that, I mean, I knew who it was as soon as, before the movie even started. But you can really tell the identity through that, because he put it on crooked, and like the whole people, you see his nose and eyes like that through one eye hole. It was really funny. I'm surprised they don't reshoot that. It was directed by the same guy who did Police Squad, and he directed like a police episode, like a TV show. It has a TV show quality, even though there's full of nudity and violence in it. Even though a lot of the violence and blood and stuff were edited by the MPA, but it's still a pretty brutal film for violence and stuff. And also they had the guy that starred in Land of the Lost, the squeaky clean kid from Land of the Lost was there, and also the girl that did was in like shows like Odd Couple in Vegas and stuff. She did voice work. She did the voice of Lucy in the old Peanuts cartoons, and she did the voice of that one girl that starred in the cartoon of Charlotte's Web, which I loved as a kid that Hanna-Barbera did. And they had I remember in the 90s they were selling that at McDonald's, and I was so excited to get that. My sister got it for my niece, my nephew wasn't born yet, but I made sure to watch it. I love the show. And then I remember later on they made a sequel, Charlotte, that looked awful. I didn't bother to buy that one. That looked like a piece of crap, the sequel they did to it. But I did take my niece and nephew finally in the Doll Theater to see the live action remake of Charlotte's Web, which is fantastic. That's a remake that's really good. Well, anyways, yeah, I mean, that girl that played from Charlotte was very good in the film too. I mean, I had some problem. The movie's laughable in some parts. There's a lot of murders like in the first like half hour, 40 minutes, and then it's turned into like a police procedural trying to catch a killer, like investigation and stuff like that. And I'm surprised the cops didn't do very well trying to find the guy. But the biggest problem I had was right during the beginning credits. They had like a scene, and it started like something like out of Maniac or something with the music and like the driving at night and stuff. And then all of a sudden the screen stops, and then you hear a car crash. And then you see a thing of a car, like it looked like it was staged. And the guy going on it, and then it pauses again, and then unpauses, pauses, unpauses. It looked awful. I hated that sequence. It's a horrible title sequence. On Amazon, I thought it was a streaming service screwing up. So I checked it. It's on YouTube also. I didn't know about that through Awesome Clips. I watched it and the same thing happened there. So I guess it's part of the movie. But it looks terrible. I don't know why they did that at the beginning. And there's something at the very end that cheated the audience, I think, out of some good revenge. And I didn't like that either. Aside from that, it's a solid film. I mean, but silly. But I give it an 8 out of 10. It's definitely a good movie, cult classic. Now, the second one, that was a sequel to Tobe Hooper's movie, was... let me get something to drink. I'm thirsty. Hold on. Oh. I'm thirsty. I'm talking too much. Go get something to drink. But, I mean, the movie was... The second one, there was no... It kind of sucked. There was no point for it to really exist. I mean, basically, It took what was ever interesting from Tobe Hooper. It was a sequel to the Tobe Hooper remake. What was ever interesting about Tobe Hooper, and they kind of just made it like a lame ass torture porn and rip off a Saw or something like that, you know. Basically revolves around this girl whose sister was killed. She might have been killed in the original Tobe Hooper one, right? And the girl was with the cops, and then the guy, the killer, kidnaps her and puts her in that apartment building. You just see the apartment from the outside. Some like weird dungeon workspace that looks like something I saw. And she's in like a jail cell. And it's kind of mean too. There's a scene where he grabs her arm and he takes a rock and goes like this to it. And that was really mean. It was mean spirited. There were scenes where she is basically the guy would she would just be locked up and he would torture her, and then it show a scene of her eating bugs and puking, and he'd take a blowtorch and put it on her hand that was always screwed up, and he made Jiffy Pop for her, and he was showing some movie that looked like it's some weird music video type thing. She kept shutting it off, but he made popcorn for her, so that was something. And in between that, he'd bring victims, they kill them in like very gruesome ways. Like he did something and he cut off a leg. It looks like something from out of the Guinea Pig series, Flower, Flesh, and Blood. Or there's a scene where he had something cooking in a cast iron skillet, and she gave it to her and she eat it because she didn't have any food or not like that. It turned out it was like part of a leg that guy he was carving off. And there's a scene where the guy brought this guy out he saw the guy in half. She goes, "This is intermission. This is an intermission." And he just sprayed her down with a hose, all that, and she was eating popcorn. The popcorn had been all sopping wet, and no good. But she was eating like, it showed how stupid the movie was. And he just brought the guy through a table, so I cut him in half. She's like, "Is this all there is? This all?" And the guy will get all mad at her. And then I watched TV, and he took the remote away and cut off her hand. I mean, that's all the movie really was. And the weird thing is, Bruce Dern's in the film. The Bruce Dern. I don't know how they got him in the movie. Cause I mean, what they showed him for like 3 seconds at the very beginning. Cause I saw Bruce Dern in the credits, like no way, no, and that's him. And then he appeared more frequently through the last 20 minutes. Then he had like a big, or 25 minutes, and he has a big dialogue with her about religion. And he was a prisoner there too. I don't know how the hell they got Bruce Dern in. What they should have done was, during the opening credits were really cool. They did like a gruesome music video, which is much better than the credits from the 1978 Toolbox Murders. And I'm trying to think. They showed him at the very beginning sitting down, like looking at him and sitting down for like 2-3 seconds. What they should have done was kind of like not really show his name in the beginning credits and show him in the ending credits, like the star, right? And then show him at the end, and people are like, Bruce Dern's in this? That would be a big surprise for this movie that has no surprises. And there was this other guy that I've seen that was very familiar from a lot of comedies and stuff like that. He was only in for 2 seconds. I guess it was directed by a very good director named Dean Jones, not to be confused with the Dean Jones from Disney, that directed a lot of big budget movies. I don't know what he was thinking with this one. This one kind of sucked. I don't mind. It was very mean spirited, not as mean as the movie Seed that Uwe Boll did, which was really cruel and very unpleasant. I didn't like that movie either. But I don't mind movies like this. Because I used to complain movies don't have much blood and stuff like that. It had a decent amount of blood and gore in it, but some of it was done very poorly. Usually but it just didn't have anything. It didn't add up to anything. And then he didn't even really have the complete ending. Where, the scene that you expect to see wasn't in there. They showed, like, something carved in this guy's chest saying, like, if you can't do something good, do something terrible. And the guy said the writing's on the wall, and then that was the end of the movie. It's like, what the hell? And it's not a spoiler, because the whole movie's about just them down there. I didn't really give anything away. I just told it about something written in the guy's chest. It was a real disappointment. It sucked. I thought they could at least salvage and do something a little bit better than this. And a complete waste of time. This is a full-on 2 out of 10. And it's lucky it got that. I don't know how the heck they got Bruce Dern to be in this stupid thing. It was a real disrespectful thing. But the very first Toolbox Murders is good, and the Tobe Hooper one is really good too. This one, forget about it. So until next time, bye. I have 2 t-shirts available through Me and B Designs, and as always, take care of my Legion.